Hello FlossTube, my name is Leann and I am leann.stitches here on YouTube and on Instagram. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook as Forbidden Fiber Co. Today is Sunday, May 18th, and this is my 43rd FlossTube, I think. It's been almost exactly 3 months since the last time I filmed. It's been a while and I have a lot to show you. The last time I filmed was February 17th, and about 2 weeks after that, I went to Nashville Market. And then after that, I had a yarn show in Nashville again. So I went to Nashville 2 weekends back to back. And I basically didn't stitch for 6 weeks after Market. And it's been 3 months and I still haven't knit anything. So yeah, it's been a little bit crazy. I guess you could say I lost my Stitchy book for a while. I really just read a whole ton of books and I got sick and just all kinds of busy and crazy stuff. But I'm back. I have a lot to show you and I'm really excited. First, I want to say happy birthday to my friend Zan, Crazy Band Lady Stitches. Today is her birthday and I want to make sure to give her a shout out. And also just an official FlossTube congratulations to my friend Sarah, who purchased our local needleworks shop here, our LNS, and she renamed it to Stitchers Memphis, and she has put in so much work, months and months and months of work. Renovating and redoing everything and getting all the inventory computerized and updating inventory, and it's just amazing. I went yesterday to go to our monthly stitching group called 901 Stitchers there, and it's just every time I go in there, there's new stuff and it just looks amazing. So congratulations to Sarah, and if you're in the Memphis area or if you find yourself in the Memphis area, you definitely need to check it out. Okay. Stitching, that's what we're here for, right? So the last time I filmed, I was still working through my winter projects, and I didn't really stitch on those after I filmed more than a couple days, and so I really am just not even going to bring those back out and show them because they're put away in my closet and I didn't feel like going to find them. So I have switched over to spring projects. But before I get into that, let's look at Marvel Heroes. Marvel Heroes is my, it's one of my 2 focuses this year, but it is my main focus. It is charted by Popular Cross Stitch. I bought it on Etsy. That shop is no longer open on Etsy. So I'm sure that you can find the artwork elsewhere if you would like. Hopefully I already popped a picture of what it should look like up there. And yeah, here is where I'm at. My goal on this piece is approximately 18,000 stitches this year. And so I've broken that down into about 50 stitches a day, but because I didn't stitch for about 6 weeks, I'm still trying to catch up. My goal for the end of May is to be at 7,500 stitches for 2025, and I'm getting close. I'm traveling with my daughter the last weekend in May, so I might fall a little bit short still, but I'll make up for it next month. So I've just been using Stitchin' Mommy's typewriter method. So I pick a 10 by 10 block. This is a 16 count easy grid. And I just fill in the whole block, and then, you know, I'll draw the thread down or draw the thread that way, wherever the symbols take me. So I've just been working here. I think last time, I'm not sure if I had this part filled in, so I definitely filled in down there and just keeping going. And I just filled in Wolverine's chest area yesterday, and so when I start tonight, I'll be right there and I'll keep going that way. I think for the year I'm at about 6,700 stitches or something like that, so I've made quite a bit of progress. It's just it's hard to tell week over week or month over month that it just doesn't feel like I'm making that much progress, but I know I am. And I haven't gotten tired of this project yet either. And that's the more important thing, because this project tends to burn me out because there's so much confetti. And I haven't gotten tired of it yet. Actually, there are days when I have to force myself to stop working on it to get to other goals. So there's Marvel Heroes. So my typical routine is I do 50-ish stitches a day on Marvel Heroes. Right now I'm doing about 100 to try to catch up. And then I was stitching for 30 minutes on Sleigh Bells or Jingle All the Way. I don't remember exactly what it's called. It's by Praiseworthy Stitches. And I was working on that with Memphis Sarah E and Zan, Crazy Band Lady Stitches. And our goal was to stitch, like we broke it up into 12 or 13 parts, and we were gonna try to finish it by Christmas. And since I quit stitching at Market and since I've been back at it, I haven't even picked it back up. So I don't have any progress to show there. I'm hoping I'll get inspired to pick it back up next month, but I'm kind of enjoying only stitching 3 pieces a night instead of 4 because life has been pretty busy, but summer should slow down a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. I've just been doing lots of sports drop-offs and pickups and recitals and play rehearsals and just all kinds of stuff. And so I haven't had as much stitching time the last couple months. So having that piece out of my rotation has made my other stitching a little more fruitful. Okay, so after Marvel, what I've been doing is I broke all of my whips up into seasons. If you're new here, if you have heard me give this spiel again, feel free to fast forward. But I broke it up into seasons, and I had 3 pieces that I worked on during winter. And so after I got done with the Sleigh Bells, I would spin a wheel for one of those 3 pieces and work on it for either 100 stitches or 30 minutes. And then when I put my winter pieces away and got my spring pieces out, I actually had 7 pieces plus a new start. So my rotation on that has been 8 pieces. So I have a lot of projects to show you because I have worked on every single one of them. So let's just get started with those. So again, I stitch after Marvel, I stitch 30 minutes or 100 stitches on these spring projects. Okay, first I'm going to show you my new start. It's the raccoon, which is from Cottage Garden Samplings, the series A Year in the Woods. And this is my 4th piece that I've stitched from A Year in the Woods. The 5th one. I did all of the winter ones, the fox, the swans, and the reindeer. And I did them all in one piece. And then I did the jackrabbit, which I'll show you in a second. And I started this one on the same piece as the jackrabbit. She just came out with the beginning of the second year of the Year in Woods. And foolishly, I thought, I'll be able to resist that because 1 year in the woods is enough. And then she showed the first pattern, and it's a wolf, and it's insanely amazing. And so, yeah, I'm gonna have to get those 2, even though I haven't even started the Fabulous House series. And I'm only on number 5 of these ones, but you know, that's just kind of how it goes. Okay. So there's the jackrabbit. Oh. It was in the Q-snap, so it's a little wrinkly. And then right next to the jackrabbit is my little start on the raccoon. It's not much yet, but again, I'm only stitching on this for 30 minutes a night, and I've maybe stitched on it 3 times. I'm stitching this on, it's 2/2 on 32 count Woodland, which is by Forbidden Fiber Co. I'm gonna try to show you just, well, this is really hard to show. There you go. I'm a little out of practice, can you tell? There you go. There's just the raccoon so far. I started with this flower and then I moved over here, and I'm using the called for DMC, and then I am switching out a couple of fancy flosses. It calls for Charlotte's Pink from Weeks Dye Works and Graphite, and the Charlotte's Pink, I switched it out for Cupid, Forbidden Fiber Co. Cupid, and then the Graphite I switched out for Sterling, that one. And then instead of white, I'm using Vanilla Blossom, just to give it something a little bit interesting. And this is the color palette of all of the Year in the Woods ones that I've done so far. It's got, I've kept all of the flosses on the rings just in case they come back around, because I figure if it's a whole series, chances are that some of the colors will repeat. We'll see. Anyway, so that's the raccoon. Okay, after the raccoon, since that was my new start, which I think I actually did that I spun that the first day of my new spring projects. But after that, none of these are not in any particular order. So the first project I'm going to show you is Spring Montage. It's a series of 4 seasonal montages by Janet Stever, and I'm doing the one that is charted by Pain Free Crafts. I think you can also get like a Janlin kit, maybe it is. I can't remember for sure, but it's a much smaller version as opposed to the full coverage version. It has back stitching and all that, but I'm doing the full coverage version because that's what I do here. And that's where I'm at. I haven't gotten a ton of progress on this one, not as much as I would like. And actually yesterday, because I went to Stitchers Memphis and did the stitching group, I worked on my main project right now while I was there, and I worked on it for a good 2 or 3 hours. And so I stayed on this piece in my nighttime stitching the whole time. And I did about 400 stitches last night, just so I could see a little bit of progress, because this is my one that I think has the least amount of stitches on it. So there's that. And I've pretty much been stitching all over. Last night, I know I got down into here because all of the colors have been so light. I don't even know if you can see it, but there's some pink flowers in there. And all of the colors have been so light that it's really just been hard to see any progress. And so I worked on some of the darker colors last night. And this is a 28 count Lugana Easy Grid, and I'm stitching 2 over 1/10 stitch with the called for DMC. The next piece I have is Eggs All Around by Glendon Place. And I started this with Sarah from Memphis, Sarah E, and Gary from Garon Stitchery also started it with us, but he finished it a long time ago because he just stitches really fast. I'm using all the called for materials. The fabric is, yes, that's the right way. No, wait. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong, yeah. That is the right way. The fabric is 28 count Chrysalis Cashel by Picture This Plus. And so I think the last time I showed this was at my WIT parade, and I had only worked on this egg, and I was missing 2 of the DMC colors, and so it wasn't finished, but I finished that one. I finished these 2 eggs, and I'm working on this egg now. I traveled to Chicago a couple weeks ago for a trade show, and this is, I only brought 2 cross stitch pieces with me, and this is one of the ones that I brought, so it got a lot of extra work. So these eggs have everything except for, no, this one is finished. I'm working on that one. That's why the needle's under it. I'm just missing the beads, and I'll go back and do those at the end. So there's that. And this is, it's a slow stitch because there's a lot of counting, but it's very repetitive. And I like how each egg is kind of like a little mini finish. The next project I have to show you is He Is Risen. I can't remember the name of the artist. I'll put it on the screen. And the artwork is, or I can't remember the name of the artist who did the artwork, but it's charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And that's where I'm at. And I think I'm gonna try to do, Stitch and Mommy is also stitching this, and she is doing the background in half cross, and then she's gonna do the cross and the words in full cross. So this is 2 over 1 half cross, and the words and the back stitch, and the words in the cross would be 1 over 1 full cross. And I'm toying with the idea of doing that, but seeing as how I'm nowhere near that, we'll see if I remember the next time that I work on this, which will probably be next year since spring's almost over already. So yeah, I've gotten a lot done on this piece. I don't know, I have kept stitch counts, but because 3 months have gone by, I didn't go through and try to calculate everything. It would have just been too much, and I had been putting off filming for long enough, and I wanted to just get in here and film. So I have gotten quite a bit done though, I think. There's that. 28 count easy grid 2/1 10 stitch. I know I said I was doing 10 stitch, but I couldn't remember if I had said it was 28 count. Okay, the next piece I have to show you is Memories of the Past. It is by Hands Across the Sea Samplers, and there's where I'm at. And I love stitching this flower border. It's so much fun. I'm using the Called For DMC, and I think the last time I showed this, I only had this flower. I might have had some of the green in there, but so I stitched this flower and all of this green border, and I'm gonna work on that flower next. Am I even showing this in the right direction? I don't know. It's possible it goes like that, but I think it goes like that. I'm pretty sure I got it right. We'll find out. Okay, the next spring whip I have to show you is Buzzing of the Day by Teresa Kogut, and this is in her book called Hello Spring. And there's where I'm at. This is, I finished the beehive and it took forever. I can't tell you how many times I worked on this, those 30 minutes a day. It's basically one string and it doesn't get you very far. So I'm just excited to have that done. And I think I'm gonna work on some flowers next. I'm stitching this 1/2 on a 40 count fabric by Forbidden Fiber Co. of some sort. I wanna say it's Countess. It might be Chosen, but I'm pretty sure it's Countess. I did not keep the packaging. And Memories of the Past, by the way, is 1/2 on 40 count Tumbleweed, because I forgot to say that. So there's that. Oh, and I started this last year for Zan's B-Day Sal. Like I mentioned earlier, her birthday is today, so in the month of May, she just asks that we work on a piece with bees in it, and it's hashtag Zan, XANSBEE Day Sal. And so I had just planned to work on this year since I have so much more to go. But then when I was at Stitchers yesterday, Sarah had some new charts in, and one of them is the Queen Bee from Tiny Modernist. And she had mentioned that she wanted to kit it up on some of my fabric to show in the shop. And so I started kitting it up, and I found fabric and I kind of fell in love with it. And it turns out that the fabric I chose to kit it up for her shop is the same exact fabric she had already chosen to kit it up at home, because she had it in her stash and she had already kitted it up, like, and it was ready to start. And I just thought that was hilarious. So I think we're going to start it towards the end of the month for Zan's B-Day Sal, and then I guess I'll just have 2 projects going, but you know, that's fine, right? 2 bee projects is fine. Okay, the next piece I have to show you is Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut, and this, oh, it's not a book, it's just all this pattern. And I did a conversion of this chart because when I saw the model in person, what made me fall in love with this chart is like this blue, and I have a thing for a blue and brown combo. I don't know why, but that blue really struck me. But when I pulled the DMC to kit this up, it called for like 930 or 931, which it was just gray to me. It wasn't that blue. So I decided to do a conversion, and I figured while I was at it, I would, even though I love the way blue and brown looks together, there was just an overwhelming amount of brown in this, because I'm not a huge brown fan. Like all these flowers and just everything, and it was very golden and golden brown, and it just wasn't speaking to me the way it did on this picture. So I did a conversion, and there's the palette I chose. And this is the first time I've really done this kind of conversion where I chose all new colors, and it was a lot more work than I expected, but it was fun. And so I'm stitching this on a 46 count Toasted Coconut by Forbidden Fiber Co. And there's where I'm at. And I just love how bright and springy this conversion is. And I did it, I originally chose the 2 peachy colors. Those were the first colors I converted, and I did that based on Consider the Lilies. I had just finished stitching a flower on that uses 2 shades similar to this, and I just loved the combination. And then I went in there and I did some grays instead of browns, and it was just fun. And I have a lot of fun stitching on this. This was actually my Leap Day start last year. I started it at market because we were at market on Leap Day. And so technically I'm supposed to be done by Leap Day in 2028. But I need to stitch on it a lot more if that's gonna happen. But you know, I'm having fun, that's all that matters, right? Okay, the last spring project that I have on my seasonal wheel is And a Forest Grew. I'll put it up there. And I haven't worked on this project in several years because I have this project as well as Consider the Lilies going, and I have them both going on 28 count, and they're both just these huge floral or nature inspired samplers. And so I really felt like I needed to finish one before I could focus on the other. And so I would start out every year with the intent to do a page a month on Consider the Lilies, and I was gonna finish it, and I always petered out several months in, and I really wanted to stitch on this one too. So it's not necessarily a spring project, but I put Consider the Lilies in the summer bucket, so I put this one in the spring one, so I'd work on them in different seasons. And I love working on this. That's where I'm at. I haven't gotten to do a ton on it. I think I've mostly been in this area. So the verse is gonna go there. And so yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this piece right here that I've been working in, that all of this was done in years prior. This is a piece of 28 count cashel linen, just white. And yeah. Okay, so I have one other wheel that I spin every day, or I spin it every 3 days technically, and that is my focus wheel. Technically I have 2 wheels. I have a full coverage focus wheel and a non-full coverage focus wheel, and I flip between the two, and whatever I spin I work on for 3 days for whatever the rest of the night gives me. Sometimes it's only an hour. You know, sometimes I don't get to start stitching until like 7:30, 8 o'clock when my youngest daughter has gone to bed, and that really only gives me about 2 hours of stitching time. So by the time I finish Marble and my spring piece, sometimes I only have 30 minutes left. So the amount of work I get done on each piece varies. And what made it into this wheel is either full coverage projects that didn't really fit into a season, but I really, really wanted to spend extra time working on this year because I just love them, or they're gifts for my kids and I want to make progress on them. Or they are pieces that I just really want to finish that are non-full coverage pieces that I thought at the beginning of the year that I could have finished with this amount of time spent on them. That's a topic for another day. So yeah, I've gone through a lot of them in the last 3 months, so I'll try to be as brief as possible, but let's just get started. Okay, again, these are in no particular order. This first piece I'm going to show you is actually the last rotation I finished. I'm in the middle of another one right now, but this is the last one I finished. So this piece is, I think it's technically called Cartoon Map by Xana Cross Stitch on Etsy, but it is a map of Disneyland. And I started in the middle on the castle because I had no idea it was going to be as confetti heavy or crazy as it is. But I spent 3 days working on this. I maybe got about 1,000 stitches in those 3 days. I'm doing 1/1 full cross. This is a 28 count Lugana dyed by Forbidden Fiber Co. I want to say it's either Lullaby or Glass Elevator, but I can't seem to find the packaging. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to start at the top and draw my way down. There's just so much confetti, and then some of these stitches I can't tell if it's the spire or if it's the sky, so I've got a little bit of cloud over there. So yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but a perfect castle when it's done. There's going to be some other stuff in there. Like this is a line for the People Mover. There it is. It's fun to stitch on. It's definitely an addictive stitch, but it's just a lot of confetti. I kind of felt like I was going to stitch attraction by attraction when I started this, but since this castle is taking me so long, I might rethink that. And after I finish the castle, because I still want to finish that first, I might make my way up to the top of the piece and just work top to bottom in the typewriter method. But I am not stitching the background. There's a bunch of white that I'm obviously going to use the hand-dyed fabric to be a sky instead of all the white background. I can't remember off the top of my head how many stitches it is that eliminates, but it's a bit. The next piece I have to show you is Mercy and Grace by Sweet Wing Studio. And this was the other piece that I took with me to my trade show. And so it got a little bit of work, but I got a little frustrated. And so I put it away and worked on eggs instead. I'm stitching this 1/2 on 36 count Lavender Fields, dyed by Forbidden Fiber Co. And my frustration is with this white, it's just really not coming through. And part of me wondered if I should use 2 strands on that, but then I worried that it would be too bulky, so I didn't. I think what I'm gonna end up doing, because there's some doves over here that are white also, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna back stitch it in a light gray and kind of give it some definition, but I didn't have a light gray, I just had this black with me, so I haven't gotten to do that yet. But yeah, I didn't do much on it because, like I said, the white was frustrating. I think I put in the words "there was great and then I started this W, and then I started the word free down there. The next piece I have to show you is Sakura Garden, and I'm gonna have to put her name, the designer's name, on the bottom. I bought it on Etsy. And here's my progress. This is a gift for my son because he loves all things Japan, and we have actually been saving for 3 years now, and I am just about to book our flights to Japan. I'm just waiting for them to actually show up. We're gonna go next summer, and I have been saving credit card points and airline miles, and I have enough to get all 5 of us there and back. So all we have to do is pay taxes on the flights. So I'm super excited about that. And this is not going to be finished before we go, but maybe I'll bring it along with us. My original plan had been to stitch all the 939 because there's a lot of it, but I got bored. So I started stitching in some of this gray. I love stitching on this. It's 1/1 on a full cross on 28 count corn silk by Forbidden Fiber. At the time that I kitted this up, this fabric was the closest to ecru that we had, the DMC color ecru, and there is about 40,000 stitches of ecru, and I knew I didn't want to stitch that, so I did this so this could be the background instead, and it's definitely more yellow than ecru is. We now have Vanilla Cream, which was one of our market releases, and that would have been a much better choice, but I didn't have Vanilla Cream a year ago, and so it's fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. I really enjoy stitching on this one though. Even though it's full cross, it doesn't go as fast as a half cross piece, but it's a lot of fun to stitch on. I love watching this structure come to life. My next piece is The Moons of 2022 by Kathy Barrick. I'll put a picture up there because I didn't bring the chart with me. And I don't think I'm actually going to write the moons of 2022 on this. I think I'm just going to write the moons because it's now 2025. And while I'm making really good progress on it, I don't expect to finish it this year. I might finish it next year because of that big chunk of full coverage at the top. But I really love stitching on this. That's where I'm at. And I'm stitching this 2/2 on an unnamed piece of fabric. It's 32 count even weave of some sort. It's a piece from when I very first started teaching myself how to dye fabric. The closest color we now have in the shop would be that Vanilla Cream color. It's a very much creamy ecru kind of color. And I'm using the Call for NPI silks. I did some retail therapy that week and decided I was going to kit it up in the silks. So right now, I'm working on finishing out this bottom. So I've actually done 2 rotations on this because it was one of the last projects that I worked on in that non-full coverage wheel. And so I did 3 days of it, and then And then I did 3 days on that one that I showed you that said this was the last one that I did. I'm in the middle of my second rotation on this. I've done 2 out of 3 days. And so I did that other project that I can't remember now. And now I'm back on this. And so my goal before I put it away is I want to finish this bottom. This is the end. This is the edge of the project. I finished this tree, and then I have a couple more birds. There's a bird that sits there. There's a bird up there. I don't think there's anything over here, but that's my goal. And then I want to go up the side with these flowers next. And at some point I figure I should put November and December on there. So maybe I'll do that and then do the flowers. And then I'm going to tackle that full coverage thing at the top. Sarah from Memphis Sarah E is also stitching on this. And she started on that full coverage on the top, and she kind of burned out on it. So even though I love full coverage as a rule, I'm afraid I'm going to burn out on it too. And so I really want to finish everything else and then kind of have the looming finish as my motivation for getting through that full coverage section, because those full coverage blocks on Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow, which is also designed by Kathy Barrick, they were very extensive. They took a long time to get through, and I'm kind of imagining the same for this, even though it's smaller. I'm not dreading it, but I'm kind of scared of it. Okay, the next piece I have to show you is Snape's Library. It is charted by the Cross Stitch Studio, and it is massive, as the Cross Stitch Studio pieces try to be. I started this on January 19th, which is Professor Snape's birthday, with some friends in what is basically a full coverage enabling chat group on Instagram. There's ladies from all over the world, and I love that group very dearly. And I couldn't tell you all the people who are also stitching alongside me with this. I know some people are stitching Snape's Library, like Leann from Small Town Stitches is, and others are stitching other libraries, because I think there are 4. But I just love everything about this library. I love books in general, as you can see. Not those are freeze dried apples, but yes. So there's my progress. I put this, after I started it in January, I put this in my year-round full coverage wheel, because I didn't even get 1,000 stitches start. I think I was around 800 or 900. And so I really wanted to get more progress on it. And there is something ridiculous, like 200,000 stitches of 939. And then there's another ridiculous amount of 3371 stitches. So I'm toying with the idea of doing extreme cross country and stitching all of the 939. But as I mentioned with Sakura Garden, it's entirely possible I will get bored, and I'm going to want to see some of these details play out before, 20 years go by and I finally hit 200,000 stitches. But the good thing is when I'm only stitching 939, there's no confetti, so it goes very fast. Even though this is 1/1 full cross on 28 count. Yes, that's a 28 count easy guide. So it does go very fast, and I'm loving the coverage on that 939, because there is it's solid, it's awesome. So yeah, there's that. I have a whole handful of 939, just chilling with it. I haven't even put this into a project bag. It just kind of sits on top of my whip cart. The next piece I have to show you is Words to Live by Tiny Modernist. This is one of my oldest whips. I started it in May of 2020. I would really, really like to finish it, but it's a little bit more slow going than I'd like. And I'm really worried that this one is gonna take me absolutely forever. But this is one of the ones that I really hope to get more progress on through this whole process. That's where I'm at. And I basically just finished out this block right there. So in 3 days, I had already had half of this block done. And so only getting that much done in 3 days, which again, I don't think I had very much stitching time when I did work on it. It was kind of disappointing, and I'm really kind of hoping to make more progress on this. I'd really like to finish it sooner rather than later. I had hopes of hanging it in my girls' bathrooms, and considering I started it 5 years ago, they were 7 and 3, and now they're 12 and 8, and I don't quite think it's gonna make quite as much of a splash 5 years later, but that's still where I intend to hang it. The next piece I have to show you is Anna and Elsa, or I just call this Frozen, but it's by Aurora CS. And when I purchased it, she was on Etsy. She's no longer on Etsy. And actually she has had a name change, and I can't remember what her new name is. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen, but I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do that. She just comes up in my Instagram feed, and so I'm not sure I'll be able to follow that because of algorithms and whatnot, but she's actually updating all of these patterns, which is good and bad because she's putting more colors into each block. But that's kind of what I like about these patterns, is that they are solid colors, so it makes it really easy and kind of a relaxing stitch. And I started this one at the bottom. What is that? The bottom left. Because when I was starting things that at that period of time, that's what I was doing, and I don't really like it. So I've kind of moved over to this side, and I'm kind of just row completing now instead of doing typewriter, I guess, except going bottom up. But I made a lot of progress on this. I also, I originally started by doing all the black because someone told me that they really enjoyed doing all the black first and then just going back and filling in like a coloring book, but I hated it. So then I went in and filled in all the colors. And then I started stitching it like I did my Beauty and the Beast project that I did in, I think I started that one in 2020 and I finished it in 2022, I think. So I've been working this piece more like that now, where I do all of the block stitching and then I go back and do, see like up here, I'll go back and do the black. So that's kind of what I've been doing here. And I got a lot. There was one day, I think we were on tornado watch, and I did like 1,500 stitches that day. It's just so easy. So I got a lot of progress on this one. Frozen is being stitched on 16 count 2/1 with 2 threads full cross. The next piece I have to show you is the Beatrix Potter sampler. I'll pop a picture up there. It is charted by Stitchy Box, and here's where I'm at. And I made special effort to check the orientation of this one because this is one I always put up in the wrong direction. I'm pretty sure I have it right, but you never know. I'm stitching this 1/2 on 40 count Winter Sparrow, and I am using, that's by Forbidden Fiber Co., and I'm also using a Forbidden Fiber Co. floss. It's 1/2, if I didn't say that already, with the color Garnet. And the only reason why I chose Garnet for this is because I had a hank that was kind of a misdye. It should have never been dyed because the hank was too short. Usually we dye in big 2-yard hanks, and then I cut it on both ends, and then that gives us 1-yard strands. Well, this one for some reason was not right, and I didn't want to put it to waste. So I'm making this, and then I thought I was going to restart it because this really isn't my color palette. But then I realized that it perfectly matches the chairs that are sitting behind my camera in my office, and I could totally hang it up in here if I ever finish it. So now I persist. I actually really like stitching on this. It's like one of those relaxing stitches since it's a monotone, monochromatic. That's the word. I think it's time to end the video. I'm getting tired. So there's that. Okay, the last project I have to show you is another new start, and this is the Grand Library, artwork by Amy Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I bought this pattern as soon as it came out 3 years ago, and I haven't started it because I thought, oh, well, I have Reader's Paradise, and I have Once Upon a Fairy Tale, and I don't need another bookshelf. I don't need another book-themed Amy Stewart pattern. Well, it was Mother's Day, and I wanted to start it, so I did. I went back and forth between whether I wanted to do the quick stitch, which was just the center of the bookshelf with the chair and the fireplace and all of that. and whether or not I wanted to do the entire thing. And when I finally got down to making a decision, what it boiled down to is I didn't want to do a huge thing with just the chair and the fireplace and the bookshelf. If it had been a small section, or even just, you know, 200,000 stitches instead of another like 500,000 stitch piece of just the chair and the fireplace, I would have been much more inclined to just do that instead of another full bookshelf. But I decided to do the full bookshelf. But I decided to start in the middle with the chair and the fireplace. And so what I did was, here's the very middle of the pattern, and then I just did one color at a time, and I found my way up to the top. And so here's the top of the fireplace, and I'm gonna do the typewriter method going top down and just do that fireplace section first. And that way it doesn't feel like I'm just doing another library while I'm working on Reader's Paradise and another library or another bookshelf. And this was a lot of fun. I had a hard time putting it down. I can't tell you how many stitches I did, but because again, I wrote it down, but I did not calculate. And this one I am gonna put in my full coverage wheel because I wanna make some more progress on it this year. I don't wanna just start it and then put it away for the rest of the year. That's everything. I do have a little bit of haul. I had some market haul, but I think it is at work, so I don't have it here to show you. And on that note, you know, I've been watching a lot of knitting podcasters lately, and they use the word acquisitions instead of haul, and I like that word better. I feel like it has more positive connotations than haul, just like I prefer that I have a collection. Like right there is my pattern, my Mirabilia pattern collection instead of my pattern stash. I don't know why, it just feels a little more positive. So if I remember, I'm gonna use those words. Anyway, I do have a couple of pieces to show you that actually came to the house. The first is Bella Filipina, the Enchanted Rose, which is Belle, and Belle is my absolute favorite princess. And I have all of the other princesses. I bought them from Garon Stitchery when I went down there in last summer with Sarah and Zan. And I asked them if they had gotten this one, and Gary said that they had put it up for pre-order in their Facebook group and nobody answered, and I missed the post. Otherwise I would have pre-ordered it. But they came back. Gary emailed me, maybe it was Ronnie, I don't remember. One of them emailed me a few weeks ago and said, hey, we got Belle, and they got the bead pack. And they actually remembered that I had asked for it and emailed me and asked me if I wanted it. And I just thought that was so special and such great customer service. So thank you for that, Gary and Ronnie. Not that you're watching this, but you know, maybe word will get back to you. Anyway, so I got that in the bead pack, and Sarah, Zan, and I, as of today, are planning a little girls trip down to Disney World in January. So maybe I will start this then. That might be fun. And then the other one I have is Glendon Place. It's a very old Glendon Place. It's We Three Kings. And someone brought in a whole box of older cross-stitch patterns to Stitchers Memphis, and Sarah put the box on the table yesterday at Stitching Group and let us have at it. And Carrie found this first. She is Memphis Tiger Gal on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. And she found it first, but I saw it and I was like, oh, I want that. And she got the other Glendon Place, which was pumpkins. And I took this one, and I think I'm gonna start this after I finish Eggs All Around, which will be good motivation to finish eggs. So yeah, and that's it. That's all I have for you today. I would show you my knitting, but all of the finished pieces that I've finished are out at trunk shows right now, so I can't show you those. I do have some finished bookmarks that I stitched for my Novel Notions Club. That is a book club, and there's a cross stitch and a yarn thing. But those are at work because that's how we roll around here. And I would tell you about the books I read, but I think I've read about 50 or 60 books since I last filmed, and that would be like over an hour of book talk. And a lot of them aren't even worth mentioning. They're just cheesy little romance novels or whatever. I did read some really good books in there, but I mean, it's been an hour since I've been filming, and I'm going to cut a lot of it out because it's opening and closing bags and whatnot, but I couldn't remember them right now, even if I wanted to spend another hour talking. But I'll try to put together some of them for my next video, and at least the ones that impacted me. There were a lot of really good new releases in April, and I read a lot of them, and I haven't read some of them. But yeah, I think that's it for me today. Thank you for making it this far. If you did, drop me a little, how about a little fairy emoji? If you made it to the end of the video, I would love to see it. Anyway, I guess I can do the usual YouTube spiel. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And thanks for spending some time with me. I will see you next time. Bye.